the ones who fight to preserve our human rights and freedoms, they deserve our gratitude. Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show this Friday, the 11th of February, 2022. Thank you for tuning in. I'm glad to have you guys here. Well, here's the thing, guys. We're going down a dead-end street. And, looking in retrospect in the future back on this time period, it's going to be pretty much obvious what happened. Looking back, but a lot of people can't see it. But it's obvious to me right now, and I'm going to give you guys basically the playbook for the next couple of years. And one of the things in this playbook that's making it hard for me to configure exactly how long this is going to take is the central bank digital currency, which is coming. I think they're going to release it quickly when they release it. My personal opinion is I think they got it already in the wings waiting. And what they're going to use it for is to stabilize the masses. What I mean by that is hyperinflation is going to start to rob the purchasing power from the masses. And it's going to make it so that they are ready for, shall I say it, revolt. But the Fed's going to stave that off by releasing a central bank digital currency, and they're going to use it to effectively control the masses by basically paying them to keep them fed. This is going to extend this hyperinflationary situation, and it's going to extend out the period in time where people don't revolt. In other words, they stay under the thumb of the system. And the central bank digital currency is going to allow them to maintain tremendous control over the people and keep them in their places for the ones in power. In other words, the ones in power would be able to keep the slave-topia going. They'll be able to keep the slaves in their place by using the central bank digital currency to control every transaction that they make. And this is going to give them a period of time while the hyperinflation is already occurring to extend this quite a long period of time. And this is one of the things that's making it extremely hard for me to tell you exactly when this whole system is finally going to completely crash to the ground, by how long they're able to extend it with the central bank digital currency. Now, why can't they extend it forever with the central bank digital currency and use it in a form of UBI to basically extend out some sort of dystopian control over the entire world using central bank digital currencies? Why can't they do that? And I'll explain it to you very quickly and easily. And the reason why is because it's going to hyperinflate too. So in other words, when they start the universal basic income and they start to give people money, and they can control that money, and they can control the people through that money, that's all well, fine, and good at first, because it'll buy a lot. I mean, they might set it, who knows, I don't know, maybe 3,000, let's just say a number, just say $3,000 central bank digital currency into a phone wallet for the people who are slaves. The slaves, let's call them the slaves. They'll send them $3,000 a month. When they first start sending you that $3,000 a month, it'll pay for your rent, it'll pay for your food, it'll pay for your lodging, it'll pay your electric bill, phone bill, and all this other stuff. And maybe you'll have a $100 left over at the end of the month that you'll have to spend because they might have a time stamp on it. It might disappear from your wallet at the end of the month if you haven't spent it. So maybe the first month you'll spend $2,900 on everything you need. You'll have $100 left over. You can go out and buy a new dress, or if you're a man, you'll be able to go out and buy yourself a new pair of pants and a shirt and whatever. And great, everybody's happy with that. But you notice a month later, it takes all of the $3,000 to pay for your stuff, and you don't have that $100 left over anymore. And then the next month, the $3,000 doesn't even cut your expenses, and you need an extra couple hundred more just to pay your expenses. This is how quick the money's going to be losing value. The central bank digital currency, and it's going to keep increasing, snowballing, and losing value. And so what'll they do? They'll send you more. They'll up it. But in the end, as this money spirals out of control and becomes more and more worthless, see, why it's going to do this, guys, is because you can't make something from nothing. It's not the way the universe works. And basically what they're doing is they're printing this money from nothing. And of course, it's going to lose value extremely quickly. It doesn't matter whether it's a central bank digital currency or it's the old-fashioned type dollars, which are already digital. The old-fashioned dollars right now are losing value, and the newfangled money, the newfangled central bank digital currency will do exactly the same thing. Well, this will keep squeezing the people anyway. And if they try to pump more out to all the people, they say, well, we'll just up it to meet inflation expectations. We already know that their CPI and all this stuff is a number of points below what the real level of inflation is. And so it'll keep spiraling out of control and buying less and less and less until the people finally hit that stage of revolt anyway, where they just can't feed themselves any longer. Even with the central bank digital currency coming into their wallet, they find it's only going to buy a couple bags of groceries. And the rest of the month, what are they going to eat? And it doesn't pay the rent anymore. And it's not going to fix it, them upping the amount that they send to people. That's just going to increase the speed of the inflation of the central bank digital currency too. See where we're going with this? We're going into a hyperinflation, and there is no solutions. There's no way out. This is a dead end. And so, yes, they might be able to push things off a little bit by pumping tremendous amounts of money out in a form of a central bank digital currency to hold the system together. Just like they held the system together after 2019, 2020, 2021 by pumping a tremendous amount of money out there. Now they're pulling the money back, and the system's going to start to fall apart. And so their solution's going to be the central bank digital currency, which is not going to really solve things. It's going to only delay things a bit longer. So what do we got? We probably got, well, how much time we got before the central bank digital currency becomes worthless too? And finally the whole system dissolves? I'm hoping we got 5 years, but I don't really think we do. I think it's more like 2 years. And, I mean, this whole thing could really snowball fast. Don't hold me to 2 years. It might snowball out of control in a matter of months. Because we're in the end game, guys, right now. And there's no way out of this. This is going to happen in the end. The system is going to dissolve. This old system that we got right now is going to dissolve. And what's going to happen is going to be a reformation. It's going to take probably, I can't see them doing it quicker than a few months. And then they're going to, what's the word I'm looking for? They're always saying at the end of this comes the reset. That's it, the reset. So after the reset, then we're in a newly structured system. And the reset's only going to come at the end of all of this. They can't do, all these people calling for a reset right now saying, hey, we're going to have a reset. You can't have a reset when the whole thing's running. Because the reset itself would bring the whole thing down. You just can't go in there and say, okay, the US dollar's not the US dollar anymore. All these people holding the US dollar, what would happen? and all the leverage in the system, you can't do that. The reset has to come when the dollar's dead. Then you get your reset. Because the dollars cause the destruction. They can't arbitrarily cause a destruction. They have to keep this going until the destruction occurs. And then on the other side of the destruction, then they do a reset. Then they reset it, and then they start new, start fresh with a new monetary system. Now, Bitcoin's just sitting over there waiting to become this new monetary system. And if nothing happens, if they don't do something, then cryptocurrencies, the decentralized ones, are going to step into the breach. In other words, this is the default setting on the whole thing right now. And unless something changes, this is a default setting that the world during the hyperinflation always turns to something that retains its value. And of course, cryptos are not only going to retain their value, they're going to move up in value. And so right now, the reset, the whole thing is moving toward pushing them into cryptocurrencies. And unless something has changed, this is going to happen faster and faster and faster, and there's no end to how high they can go. And you know, also the stock market in a hyperinflation, there's no end to how high it can go. And so I'll tell you what I'm expecting with the stock market. I'm expecting it to have a little turn down because of what the Fed's doing right now, but that ain't going to last. And then we're going to have one mountain of the stock market's going to go up massively. And I mean, 50,000 Dow is not out of the question. It'll pass right on by that once the Fed turns and then once they change. Now, I heard some of these commentators out here saying, hey, you know, we're going to have a melt up before we have the big crash. Of some of them say 80%, 90%, 70% after a melt up. And they think we're in the melt up right now. No, the melt up's coming. The melt up is going to come after the Fed changes direction, not before. We're not in a melt up right now. All we're in right now is a dead cat bounce that they think's a melt up. It ain't a melt up. The melt up is coming after. But the Fed can change so quick. After the Fed changes, that's when the melt up's going to come. So right now, the Fed's talking about an emergency rate hike. They're talking about getting inflation under control. They're talking about, it's a weirdest period right now. We've got the Fed still stimulating with quantitative easing and at the same time cutting rates. Or getting ready to cut rates. I mean, raise rates. Raise rates, I should say. Raise rates. And do quantitative tightening. They might be still doing this. They might start the quantitative tightening before they even finish the expansion. So they expand and contract at the same time. They don't even know what they're doing at this point. Just a confused mess. They're just trying to get out of what they know is the inevitable. And the answer is going to occur to them very, very soon. Central bank digital currency is coming. It's definitely coming. It's coming very, very soon. They're probably going to run it at first as a parallel system and increasingly move toward it with vigor and speed as it comes in. So, excuse me. So in other words, got a little tickle in my throat. It's aggravating me. So in other words, the Fed starts the central bank digital currency, and everybody continues to use the dollar, but they also use the central bank digital currency in a small way, and then they increase it as running it as a parallel system, two systems running simultaneously, side by side. They will kill the original dollar at a certain point. They will kill the original, the old dollar. Anyway, let's get in. Let's get the chart started right here and take a look. Oh, sorry. I got a real tickle in my throat right now. Anyway, 23.20 on silver. It's up 2 cents on the day. You see, the volatility always comes when New York is open. And that's where we're at right now. Gold today, $1,833. It's up $7.10. Guess what I'm telling you guys is the system's already in a meltdown. The system's in a meltdown right now. But it's a slow meltdown, leading toward the final meltdown. It's hard for me to tell exactly when that final meltdown is going to occur. It could be as far, if we're very lucky, it could be as far as 5 years out. It's probably going to be about 2 years. But it could be it could be less than a year if things really go quick. It all depends upon the speed. We're moving in that direction. There's no way out at this point. This is a dead end. We're going to hit the meltdown of the system. And the meltdown of the system is probably going to require a restructuring. It's probably going to take months. And it's going to be cataclysmic when it occurs. And that's when you're going to get your reset. Monetary reset. And you're going to move into a structure of an entirely new... The whole thing's going to melt down in the end. We're going to move into an entirely new monetary system. We're going to start from scratch. And that's going to take 2 or 3 months to restructure. And during that restructuring, basically, they're going to lose control of the system. And it's not going to be pretty. There's going to be a massive decline in population worldwide during that restructuring. But on the other side of it, in the new monetary system, it's going to be, well, Bitcoin, the crypto's probably going to, if nothing's done to stop it, that's the default setting right now. That's what's going to happen. We're going to go to the default setting where cryptocurrency becomes the money of the world. Because it's ready to step into that breach or take that position. It's there, it's waiting, and it is structured the way money should be structured, as real money. Limited in supply, and the governments can't take control and say, hey, we're going to print as much as we want. No, they can't. Cryptocurrency is set up in a way where you just can't take control of it like that and make us willy-nilly make as much. And that's been the problem. That is the problem. That's the whole problem with our monetary system, is that they can create as many monetary units as they want. Not anymore, not when crypto takes over. And that's the way it's headed. And if that happens, you only need about 5% of one Bitcoin to live a nice lifestyle. That's all you'd need. Just 5% of one Bitcoin would probably be set for life, for your retirement and everything. But right now, if you got $10 million for retirement, I'm sorry, I ain't going to cut it. Because the inflation that we're going to move into is going to make what we've just experienced so far seem like nothing. And so, in the end, that 10 million you got or whatever, it might be only enough to last you a very short period, not for a whole retirement. And so, it would behoove, the people who have money like that, to start thinking about alternative ways of maintaining the purchasing power of that money. If they got $10 million in the bank right now, it would be very smart to think about getting into some precious metals and stuff like that, and getting hedging against that currency. Okay, now where we're at right now is we got gold up a little bit. Let's take a look at the Dow Jones. It's down 38 points at 35,202 today. So far, we haven't seen any significant falls in the markets. They haven't fell off significantly. And they're almost at record highs. They're really high right now. Let's take a look at oil. Oil is at 91.84 and it's continuing to rise. It's up $1.96 today, or 2.18%. Everything's made from oil, so prices are going to continue to increase. It takes oil to get your food to the shopping store. Even if your food's not made from oil, you know, the packaging's probably made from oil, and they probably used oil to get it to the store. Let's take a look at the MOVE index at 88.52, and it's moving up sharply today. It could be responding for of the liquidity that the Fed is not putting into the system now, or starting to cut off the taps. Rapidly starting to cut off the taps, and this really hasn't been priced into the markets yet, because the markets are forward thinking. The markets are saying to themselves, hey, you know, the Fed's, this isn't going to last. The Fed's going to, and the inflation's out of control, and the Fed's too late to the game, and they're not working fast enough, and all this kind of stuff, and the Fed's going to have to change direction, and then we're going to go back to accommodative monetary policy, and they're already pricing all that into the markets. But what they're not pricing in is the fact that the Fed's going to continue to keep the pedal to the metal as long as the markets stay up. The markets are staying up because they're figuring past, they're looking past the Fed to the Fed becoming accommodative again. The Fed's not going to become accommodative again until the markets roll over. Well, there's the situation. So the Fed's going to keep going until the markets roll over. That's what I'm waiting for, telling you guys about. When the markets start to roll over, then the Fed will change direction. But the markets are already pricing that in. And so they don't want to roll over because they know what the Fed's up to. They got the Fed's number, basically, so to speak, and they don't want to sell off because they know this whole thing's going to change direction. But the Fed ain't going to let it change direction. The Fed's going to just keep the pedal down until it breaks. And so we're waiting. We're watching here. We're waiting for all this to play out. And yeah, it's taking a long time. I know a lot of you guys are quick. You want everything done right now, you know, and they want to see it right now, see the results, you know. But good investors are patient. And I'm patient on this channel, and I'm giving you the playbook. Ultimately, this system's going to end in a couple years, probably 2 years. It ain't going to be pretty, guys. That part, the restructuring, during that period in time, it's very unlikely you're going to be able to buy sufficient quantities of food at any price. Every place you go is going to be empty. You know, and or if they do have food, the cost is going to be so exorbitantly high, you ain't going to be able to afford it. Power's likely to be out in places, might be out all over. Internet down here and there, or might be out all over. And the people ain't going to take it. You think you're seeing disturbances now? It's going to be 10 times more power behind it. Why do you think that the Fed right now is in panic mode to try to stem this off? Because they know when this serious inflation hits that they're not going to be able to control the people. People have expectations. See, I'll explain it to you. When a person gets mad and upset is when they expect something, they expect one thing. Like if you say, I'm going to give you a big, bright, shiny apple, you know, and then you give them a lemon, then they're upset. But if you told them you were going to give them the lemon and you give them the lemon, then they're not upset. They're only upset because they expected a big, bright, shiny red apple. And they got a lemon. By gosh, the Fed sure is one big hell of a big lemon. They had their chance to get rid of them suckers. There when the lease expired, there after 100 years, they had like a 100-year lease on their thing that they could continue to screw over the American people for 100 years in their contract. And it expired. I think it was like 1913 to 2013 or whatever, and they had their chance to get rid of them. What a mistake keeping them. They're the worst vile institution ever created in American history. These central banks, they are only out for their own people, for their own interest, not the interest of the people, but the interest of their people. That's the problem, and they're also a Ponzi scheme. That's how it's all structured. Let's take a look now at bonds here. Look at these yields going up. U.S. 10-year 2.05. I told you guys 2.25 or 2.5 on the U.S. 10-year is it. They can't exceed that. Is going to be trouble if they start to exceed that. By gosh, we're heading up toward that really fast. Boy, these yields are really climbing. They can't let them go too much further. They're in a desperate situation right now where they can't let yields climb too high, but they are. And at the same time, they can't let inflation, but inflation is out of control. It's going to get a lot worse, especially when the Fed has to throw in the towel. And these yields are going to force them to throw in the towel because they can't afford to let these yields climb so high as they're starting to climb. Take a look at the U.S. dollar index, 95.76, and it's dropping down today. Okay, guys, thank you for listening to my show. It's about time. All I can say is it's about time that everybody start thinking about protecting their rights, human rights, and freedoms. And it's very good that people have that mindset to protect that, because when that goes away, then your life becomes a living hell. And this has been the case through history. The people who watch out for that for us, in other words, the people out there who are watching to make sure that our freedoms and our human rights are not violated, deserve a commendation. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the next show. Bye-bye.